I am Nahed Kabbani, and this is the Lighthouse for today's viewers. Welcome to our show. As I always mention my viewers, Toastmasters is a great resource for me to bring you good stuff and good speeches, meaningful, have something in it for you. Maybe you will not have a chance to hear it from other sources, so it will come to you through our guests from time to time. Today, with the spirit of 4th of July, our Freedom Day, I got a chance to hear our member, our guest today at Toastmasters, having a speech about 4 freedoms. It caught my attention, the information what we get from that speech. That's why I brought the speech and the speaker for you, my viewers, and you will enjoy it, I believe so. So let's welcome our guest and let him introduce himself to you. Welcome to our show.
Thank you, Nahed. It's a pleasure to be here.
Will you please introduce yourself to our viewers?
Well, my name is James Morrison. I'm a photographer, I'm a speaker, and I'm an advocate. I advocate towards the 4 freedoms at this time. I am looking to create a awareness of what our greatest generation applied themselves to in order so that we could have the freedoms that we have today.
That's wonderful. What brought you to Toastmasters to begin with?
Shyness,
Uh-huh.
a nervousness in front of people,
Uh-huh.
and a little small desire to speak in public.
And those are, I didn't see it. It was.
It was.
Uh-huh.
It was.
So,
It was.
welcome to our show, and hopefully you will show my viewers the result of being Toastmasters.
It has given me great confidence to present in front of a live audience. On your show, I'm a little nervous.
Oh, no, no guests, no, me and you only. They will listen later.
Okay.
But your speech actually caught my attention, and the meaning of 4 freedoms. I myself like to know more about it. As a foreigner come to the country, I like to know how it built up, that story about America through your speech, through your information today, and my viewers will benefit from that.
Okay.
So, will you please give us what you have for us today?
I certainly will. I am going to do this in a little bit different format. Normally, you would stand up in front of an audience and you would have a podium. I'm going to use my speech as a talking point, more of a discussion, and then I guess we'll discuss it.
Okay,
Right.
that will be a great idea also, learning from Toastmasters different ways for speeches to be acceptable from the viewers and the listeners.
Okay, and I brought my notes to make sure I didn't leave anything out.
Okay, that's good too. Let's have it.
In a recent survey, it was an informal survey, one that I did very recently. Matter of fact, it was the morning of Toastmasters meeting. A few people knew about the freedoms, the 4 freedoms, but very few understood what the 4 freedoms were. And that they were the motivating factor for the greatest generation to create a winning team to win World War II. So why did the 4 freedoms motivate them so much? The greatest generation had struggled for years in a climate very similar to what we have today. They had corporate entities, they had the very wealthy who were controlling the capital. Capital meaning the money of that which we as a nation are really built on, is the capital that we have. And well-funded organizations try to really keep track of where their money was going and not necessarily allowing people to have their own, and kind of like today.
Uh-huh.
And they looked for some way to stop that process. And they had a president, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, who in time came to the conclusion that that needed to happen. And he came up with a speech that included the 4 freedoms. Now, the 4 freedoms are not in the Constitution per se, but they relate to the Constitution. The first one is the freedom of speech. Now, FDR believed that this freedom was the foundation. It was critical to the success of this country and everywhere in the world. The second freedom was the freedom of religion everywhere in the world. But the next 2 were the most forgotten. It's the freedom of want everywhere in the world. The freedom of fear everywhere in the world. Think back to your remembrance of your history books. Do you remember them talking about the 4 freedoms very much?
No.
Was it discussed?
No.
No? Did anyone explain to you why the greatest generation fought World War II?
No.
Well, we talk about the atrocities that happened in Europe, and in the Pacific we talk about how we ended the war in Japan. We talk about everything but what made and what motivated a man to run across Omaha Beach being fired upon. And we don't talk about the women who joined the workforce to rivet the plane's wings so that they could build planes that would win that war. And we talk about everything but what our parents and our grandparents sacrificed. They rationed food and gasoline. They collected metal, rubber. They were the original recyclers. Everything that they could for the war effort. And we talk about everything but the people who were so struggling for money at the time, but they saved their money and they bought war bonds in order to support the soldiers who were fighting, whether it was in Europe or eventually in Japan. We talk about everything but what they believed in. And that is the 4 freedoms. And it represented to them the American dream. Now, the 4 freedoms are the freedom of speech. And what does a freedom of speech mean to you? Does it mean that I can sit here and talk to you today? Does it mean that everyone has an opportunity to share his or her own opinion, despite what the government or a corporation controlling the interests of a media? Does it mean that a corporation can control the internet access that you have? Today there is talk about certain people with money having more access to the internet than what you or I may have if we had less money. Is that freedom of speech?
No.
So we need to consider the effect of capital, money, on the freedom of speech. And then there's a freedom of religion. Some people are trying to change that phrase, and I'm balancing between the 2. Is it freedom of religion, or is it freedom from religion? How many religions, or in the name of religion, are people using to create an era of superiority that, for them, a moral superiority? Are they really superior? Is one group better than another? And then there's the 2 that we don't talk about. The freedom from want. homelessness, hunger, poverty. In 2013 HUD report, California had 22% of the nation's homeless. California had the highest number of homeless veterans at 15,179 on any given night.
Wow.
People talk about a compassionate society. How many food closets or Meals on Wheels or school lunch programs have you heard about that are short on funds or supplies? That was a 2013 report that was updated in January 2014, that in California, 1 in 4 is below the poverty line. How many multiple Goodwill stores, donation stores, have you seen in an area of town? Mm-hmm. And if you listen to the news, you hear about the possibility of withholding medical care based on age and economic status. Tell us again that we have freedom from want. We have to rethink what we mean from the phrase freedom from want. The freedom from fear, the number 4. And with the loss of job security, with the unaffordable educational process that we have today, and the lack of inequality under the law, the fear of losing your apartment because the lease is overturned from a legal loophole, and a little bit of greed, maybe a whole lot of greed. Mm-hmm. The loss of access to the courts because of a clause in your contract. The little fine print that denies you the right to sue a corporation that did harm to you or your family. The fear of the small businessman when there is a large corporation opening a store down the street, destroying their business, stealing her customers, and all for the low price of foreign-produced products. When I speak of the 4 freedoms, what do you think of?
Freedom.
Freedom. Do you think of the American dream?
Absolutely.
Do you have a clear idea of what the American dream means to you?
I lived in American dream. Hopefully it will come true.
Yeah, hopefully. Do you know what people have done? What the greatest generation did to fight for the 4 freedoms? The freedoms we take for granted? And if I may suggest, there are 2 books. The first is A Fight for 4 Freedoms, and it's by Harvey J. Kay, and he wrote this and published it in 2014, just this year. The second is Howard Zinn's The People's History of the United States. It was republished in 2005. These 2 books are quite an education about the greatest generation and what they did, what we should still be doing. Now, this is something that happened today. And without getting personal about your voting preferences, did you vote in the recent election?
Last night.
Okay. In one of the polling places, 5.5 hours after the poll opened, I voted. And I was number 47. That's less than 10 per hour. 10 voters an hour voting. That is that the American dream?
No. No.
You have to decide whether the struggle for democracy is done, that we have succeeded in creating democracy. Or do you understand that democracy, if you really want democracy, you still have to fight for it? As a rhetorical question, a question for your audience. What is the American dream? Does it include the elderly? Does it include the poor? Does it include the less educated? Does it include your neighbor? Surely the American dream is more civilized than the survival of the fittest. The 4 freedoms. Don't forget them. Demand them.
We'll talk. Thank you very much. Really, you opened the subject widely, and after the break, we'll talk about details, especially after the election.
Okay.
So, I believe the four freedoms are very important to get some light on it. So, for this matter, after the break, we'll be back talking about it. We'll see you soon.
Watching The Lighthouse for today's viewers, brought to you by oneworldforyou.org.
Welcome back. Because my guest brought a hot subject, actually, especially we're still in it, the election and the percentage of people who voted this time is very shameful. If I am, as somebody came from a place or country, have no right, or we vote, but the vote will be changed or have no meaning or strength in it, I came to see where I can fit, how can I have rights. You, my viewers, as American, you have a great help and great gift in your hand. You can change everything you wanted to better with your vote, with your voice. Why you don't use it? Let's talk about this subject with our guest. What's happening with that vote?
Not having talked to the people who count the votes, my impression is that people don't believe it counts. Even in the United States, we have a tendency to think that it's over, it's done. We've successfully created the perfect democracy, that everything is okay. In recent times, we have also started to believe that there's no reason to vote. Pretty much what you were saying. It doesn't count anyway. There's always a way around it. So that is, unfortunately, a little bit of what I believe is the apathy that we have in this nation. I have talked to a number of people who are from different countries. Mm-hmm. And it is surprising how much more they know about our country and our electoral process than some of the people that I talk to who were born here. It's not a formal survey. It's not a documented thing that I can show you on a piece of paper. But it certainly is a gut feeling that we just don't believe it's necessary to vote again.
In fact, there is a lot of changes within 25 years, last 25 years. I am witness in America as American citizen. It was very appeal to me that this is America, this is the promised land, this is the freedom, what I'm looking for, this is the dream, what I can dream. Lately, changes came to the scene because we as America politically become involved with so many places in the world, and that world, those people came over around us, and we try to show them our generosity, our freedom, there is some kind of no clear picture now to say that our vote will fix up or will help to do something good for us and for the world.
Well, I mentioned Franklin Delano Roosevelt.
Uh-huh.
He warned us, and this was in the 40s, he warned us that there would be people that would clip the American eagle, the wings of the American eagle, in order to feather their own nest. Mm-hmm. And in some ways, we may have done that. We may have weakened what made America great. There are a number of different people who wrote about what we should have as an Americans. Now, Eleanor Roosevelt, who happened to be Franklin's wife, She wrote in a book called The Moral Basis of Democracy. She called them the 4 equalities. Equality before the law. Equality of education. Equality to earn a living. Equality to express oneself and to participate in government. I would love to have the funding to do a survey, a real legitimate survey about equality before the law, about the equality of education, and the equality to earn a living. There is some question about that today. But what really surprises me is the concern that people have about the lack of the equality to express oneself and to participate in government. We have that right, but if we don't use it, then we lose that, and then we're not equal. And from you and your understanding of what this country is from being here for so many years, when did the American people become less important than what a group of companies or individuals with money mean? We are 300 million strong. If you do the numbers, 1% of that is not a lot of people. But that's a political statement now. To motivate and get out and do something is totally different than writing it on Facebook or tweeting it. I can only suggest that people read the book by Howard Zinn, The People's History of the United States, and understand that they went and fought a war for the 4 freedoms and came back and fought it again here. It is a powerful book.
It is really, it's well known that America was really the top of the world. I did my flowers arrangement for my show as the whole world and America symbol of the world.
Right.
Because we are from all over the world made America. And we all have the same rights under the Constitution. And this is the beautiful of America and American citizen to be. You have power, you have dignity, you have a lot of things through citizenship all over America have the same rights, which what we talk about.
Right.
But in reality, you don't feel it really working.
There's a difference between rights on paper and rights that you demand, that you insist upon and be enforced. Franklin Delano Roosevelt talked in 1940, before his the re-election. He talked about the destiny of America. One of them was that workers should not be discarded when they reach their prime, and that the rivers and valleys should be protected, that small businesses can flourish, that there are great cultural and educational opportunities, and that the wheels of trade and private enterprise flourish. We want that to happen. But that workers are free to sit down at the table with their bosses and talk about employment and whether they are treated equally. And that those in the evening of their life, they could sit back and enjoy peace and security. Americans are devoted to freedom, but unified. The people are confident, and they have the strength, and they have the spirit to secure it and to hold on to it. But we have to be willing to be unified. And that doesn't mean that I am a Republican or that I'm a Democrat. It means I'm American. And I sign allegiance to only America, more properly, the United States.
That's a great point, because all what I see Republican fighting Democrat for chairs, for their own seats. When they come to the seat, they will not do anything for people. Either Republican or Democrat are there to help the people, to serve the people, not to be in position.
There is an organization of veterans that help each other in order that they can find work.
Mm-hmm.
I talked to one recently, and he happened to have had a fellowship with a congressman. And he's having trouble right now because of problems and looking for work and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
If it wasn't for the fact that he knew how the system worked, he would not have been able to get success out of the government.
Mm.
It is a difficult state that we are in when we have to know how to work the system in order to get those benefits that we have earned, that we are entitled to.
Mm-hmm.
Not everybody is as educated
Yes.
or as aggressive as others. And those are the people that should be searched out and helped by those who have the education, who were fortunate enough to have a good job at one point. We have to work together. If we unite as a group of people, our combined strength can make just about anything happen. But we have to be united. North, south, east, west, young, old. We're in it together. And it's not the foreigners, it's not the distant lands that we have to worry about. Mm-hmm. It's our own internal attitudes.
That's the secret power, to
Yes.
be united. When you are 10, better than 5. How it look like when you are 50 states together in one hand, under one constitution, doing the right thing for your all people. That's the strength of America.
And that was the power of FDR's speech and promotion of the Four Freedoms. Norman Rockwell painted 4 paintings based upon the Four Freedoms. And they were used to promote the society values of that time, of freedom of speech, of freedom of religion, of freedom from want, of freedom from fear. And everybody knew what that was all about. And they internalized it. And they wanted to share it. That's why they went to war. That's why they were willing to go to war. There were people, obviously, then that didn't want to go to war. Some people said there was a conspiracy to get us into war with Japan and the Pearl Harbor. Conspiracy theories are always going to be out there. But when it came down to it, a conspiracy theory doesn't get a woman to get out of her house and go down and build airplanes. It doesn't get a man to run across a beach while being shot at. It's an internal belief that something of value is going to come out of it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it was. And it shows up after the war. We got something. But maybe in the long run, with changes in our feeling or our attitude or our strength financially, some changes take us away from the goal, what we had before.
There are people who would love to become millionaires, and they get halfway there, and they say, I've done. They don't go all the way through the goal. We, as a second generation, and the third generation, the fourth generation, enjoy so many of the freedoms that was given to us by our senior citizens, our greatest generation, that we didn't think we had to fight anymore. Mm-hmm. And when you don't demand your freedoms, you start to lose bit by bit till you don't even realize that you're not free anymore.
Because you don't value the feeling of freedom. It becomes normal. it becomes below normal, it becomes a must, and that's it. That's why we lose it in the long run. People with no freedom will face it, will feel that, but people live with it, are losing it little by little. Let's talk more after the break.
Okay.
It's a good point. We'll have a break and back soon to discuss more points about the freedom.
OneWorldForYou.org, promoting cultural understanding through the media.
Welcome back. Let's find out with our guest how we can go back to the values, what we have, through the freedom what we have.
When we have an opportunity to enjoy the simple freedoms, we can get in our car and we can drive away. We don't have to have a brother or a father to be with us in order to go somewhere. We don't have to have someone tell us what type of outfit we have to wear. Those are rights and freedoms that we take for granted. But there's a generation of people who look at what we call the four freedoms and want them. And this isn't a uniquely American desire. It is a desire that the whole world really wants. There isn't a country that doesn't show signs of a struggle for the freedom of speech, for the freedom of religion. There is certainly so many countries that are struggling to eliminate the freedom of want just on a small scale. And there's fear in a lot of countries today about whether their children are safe or whether they have to toe the line in order to just have a job or to own a house or just to live. So those four basic freedoms that we take for granted in the world, if we look back at the root cause, the Arab Spring was that. It was the four freedoms. If you look back at what they really were saying, I don't think it really cared who the leader's name was, but the concept were there.
Because this is a gift from God, since He created the human on earth. Give them the freedom, give them the land, the food, the things, and give them the right to live free and establish life on earth, not to have somebody slave other or somebody kill other to have living. You know, this is the most basic things from inside the rules, from the creators to the people. Be fair, be free, work for your freedom. It is normal issues.
I don't know of any group of people, and I'm not a large organized religion follower. I don't think that in the name of religion anything. But we have a strong, basic moral code that runs through three of the major religions. And since I haven't studied the others, I don't know.
No, the same basic rules from
The
the Creator on earth for the human being.
Right.
That's the meaning of.
The crew here, us, the audience, we all have a basic desire to have our opinions respected. We want to believe the way we want to believe. I get a lot of giggling and concern because I use a metaphor for God. I call him Dad. It doesn't matter what I call it. It's a matter of that I feel the need to have that power.
Your connection with
I
him.
have that connection. So, does it matter to you, or should it matter to anyone else how I believe or what I do? And I should have the right to express it like I'm doing today. But there's other basic rights that I think we tend to forget, and it keeps coming back to the last two rights of the four freedoms. When you are fearful of losing your job, it translates to how you react to the rest of your day when you go home. It translates to your health. We are looking now at a time when the youth are coming out with debt so high that they have to fear whether they can pay that off, whether they can afford to get married, buy a house, have kids before they pay that off. We are probably giving our kids such a debt load, and it's not the debt from the deficit of the United States. It's the debt that we are forcing on them to go to college, even if you don't have a family with lots of money. Put that money online, borrow it from a corporation, pay interest on it, and then owe it to them until you pay it off. You can't go bankruptcy. You cannot get out of it. You owe it forever. And then so what happens? You struggle to get a job. You become fearful if you lose your job, because how are you going to pay that debt off? Then you have, on the other side, a generation that is fearful of having enough money to live in peace and security after they've worked for 40, 50 years. I've seen now so many stores that have older people working at them, or corporations where they have older people. I see so many older veterans still looking for work. And it creates that struggle between the youth and the older generation, because they want a job also. And I don't deny them the right to have a job. But if you look at the United States as a nation where the corporations create jobs, they're not doing a very good job.
Yeah.
If you look at the businessman as the only one who can create a job, they're not doing a very good job. But if you look at it from how I learned economics, was that as a businessman, I find out what the audience wants, and I find a way to provide it for them at a fee that they are willing to pay me, and that I can make a profit, that I can hire somebody, then I've created a job. So ultimately, it's not me that's creating the job, it's the customer.
Yeah.
And we as customers don't realize that we control the economy. If we're too fearful or in too much of a need of want to spend the money that we have saved, then the businesses aren't going to be able to hire people. They're not going to create jobs. It's just that simple. The other thing that we have to remember is that as a group of people, we are a strong resource. I can look at the people who are in this room who are operating cameras, and they have a skill, and they have a talent. But I look at a young man who is working, or a veteran who's looking for work, and I wonder if people understand that they are an asset to a company, not a liability. Not something to cut the cost of, but to something to invest in. Once we invest in our people again, once we invest in their education, once we decide to put the human being on the asset side and taking them from the liability side, then this nation will be on the way to create the four freedoms for real.
You mentioned at the beginning of the show the greed, and that's part of it because of the wealthy people who have the ability to do business. They take their business out of America to have cheaper labor.
Mm-hmm.
And we left our people with no jobs because of that. To sell more, to make more money, you took the food from the tables for those people, you took the job from them. For what? To build up another country's business? It is too much to see that.
I have to be careful here.
Are you
I
a
don't
millionaire? Sorry to ask you this question,
No,
sir.
I want to answer it. I want to answer it, but I don't want to give the wrong impression.
Mm-hmm.
The American people cannot look to the corporations as the bad guy. Because if we didn't want low prices, if we were willing to pay for American-made products, then the corporations would give it to us. We're in control. There's nothing that a retail organization hates worse than for the customers to look at them and says, no,
Yeah.
I don't want your product.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That gets us back to being a united
Yeah.
states. We as consumers can be united in strength.
Mm-hmm.
300 plus million of us can turn to any corporation in this country, any banking institution in this country, and within a short period of time, tell them that you're closed. You're gone. All we have to do is want to do it. But if we have that little bit of greed that says, I can buy that pair of tennis shoes for $1 less if it's made in whatever country,
Mm-hmm.
and I choose to do that, why would a corporation make any other decision? And don't forget, most corporations today are not being run by people. They're being run by a computer that,
Yes.
that puts out a number that says you didn't make your quarterly ROI, right?
Yes.
They're more concerned about meeting those numbers than looking at this country 20 years from now. But that's what we allow.
Yeah, because
That's what we accept.
because we were spoiled. We are consuming more than what we need. We want. Everything become a must because of the prices, because of the sale, because of the money what we have in our pockets without thinking, do we really need it or not? No
Well,
control.
I'm in a catch-22 here. I want us,
Briefly, please.
okay, I want us to save money so that we can have it for our old age. But I recognize that if we don't spend our money, people won't have jobs.
In a way, but we can't spend the money with the things what we need. Most of the things we change for the better model or a newest, or it is still working. The third world or the second world or first world, they don't throw out things that easy. Too much, and too much food, and too much obesity. Too much is too much. We are spending too much for things sometimes we don't need it. And other people, they have nothing to spend for things they need it. The gap is very, very high. So
We'll talk about
this point, we'll talk about it after the break.
that. Okay.
So we'll have a break and we will be back soon. Back to our story. Let's talk about spending and finding the want, and maybe we don't want other people in need. They don't have the ability to buy what we throw away even. What do you think about too much?
I have no inherent problem with people who want to buy what they can afford. I do have a problem when the rest of society is in so dire straits that they are starving, that they are in fear of their existence, that you have a difference in generations. There was a generation that we've been talking about who reached out and helped each other. There was a president, a Republican president, Dwight Eisenhower. He wanted to create a stable, prosperous, and strife-free America. This was the man who led the war, who won the war for us, with using his talents as organization, his talents of leadership to win World War II. And during his presidency, he kept the tax rate on corporations and the rich high. He approved the largest public works project. He made Social Security nearly universal. He raised minimum wage 33%. And he established a Department of Health, Education, and Welfare. And he warned against the military-industrial complex. And he wrote in 1954, should any political party attempt to abolish Social Security, unemployment insurance, and eliminate the labor laws or the farm programs, you would not hear of that party again.
Wow.
I don't need to tell you that the difference between a man who was running the country then and the people who are running the country now. Is one better than the other? I'll let you decide if you think 1950s, then 60s, and the 70s were better than the 80s, 90s, and the beginning of the 21st century. That's your decision. That's why I suggest that you read the books. That's why I suggest that you really understand what the four freedoms are and the struggle that people went through to secure them for the United States. And that's what brought me to Toastmasters.
That's a really good place to meet people also and have ideas different than one idea. Go out of the box through the thoughts and speeches and the books what we have in Toastmasters to learn how to deal with it.
Manuals, if you have something to say, Toastmasters will teach you how to say it.
Absolutely.
Even if you disagree with me.
Absolutely. At least you have the right to say what you like to
That's
say.
right. That's right.
Better than outside of that that club. Really, I benefit a lot from Toastmasters. Also, ideas about Middle East, something you don't know about. I'm bringing out from time to time, even jokes sometimes. Make kind of taste for that side of the world because we are in it now. We are in America, not just you hear about it. Arab people in America more and more after Iraq War specifically. Right. Too many people around us now, and we have to deal. We have to learn about accepting the voice of the language to begin with and deal with helping them because they are here no matter what, and they will become citizens soon. This is, I will do Toastmasters in Arabic just to let them know how to
that would be fun.
Have transition between two kind of living style.
One of the great things about this country, one of the things that I loved more than anything else, is that I get to meet people who have a different culture than I do. When I left Virginia and went into the military, I enjoyed the opportunity to meet people who are from, well, as a Southerner would say, we met Yankees, and they weren't all bad. We met people from Chicago and from the jazz community. I've met people in Asia that just taught me a lot. And what they taught me was they respect their elders just like we did in the South. So that's no difference. I am not yet fully conversant in the culture of the Arabic community. But I'm open, and I think most people are open to learn. I would like to invite all different cultures to join Toastmasters. But because of your presence at our club, it would be nice. Matter of fact, you brought in a few people from the Arab community to our club, and it was great to hear them talk. That acceptance of an American culture, it's a worldwide organization. There are Arabic speakers who are winning contests in Toastmasters. It would be great if the local Arabic community start their own club, because obviously it's easier to talk in your own tongue.
Yes.
But to join to Toastmaster clubs, to visit Toastmasters, and share what we call the icebreaker. And let us know not so much the date you were born, but how you lived, what it was like. We will get a much stronger understanding of your community by you sharing it than by holding up and hiding from it. It's one of the problems that we as American citizens have, is we tend to isolate ourselves from the rest of the world until we want to tell them to do something. We need to think about it. And it may require the Arabic community to take the first step.
That's why we are working on it hardly to bring that service to the community to be acceptable. Otherwise, nobody will start it easily. We have to, because it's our fault, as I always mention, our fault from our side. We didn't give enough information from our side about us. Nobody knows enough about the Arab in America because of the Arab not open easily. They are in the corner. The language is a very big barrier. And feeling that maybe I'm not acceptable here, or came from war zone and things, still the fear inside of them, it's not easy to be open to public. Toastmasters maybe will make them feel as a club, as fun, relaxation, not school or something tough on them. And they will have it as something for change, as breaking between two cultures, to be able to fit in the society. Otherwise, they will stay in the corner.
I have had a personality test, and I am considered an introvert. I like to consider myself a recovering introvert. But it did not do me a lot of good to be an introvert and not reach out and talk to people and be out in the community. I really am sorry that as a culture we have a tendency to isolate the foreigner. I really am sorry about that. There is a lot to be learned. You have given us insights into some of the literature. We have others who have given us insights into their country.
Don't forget, the foreigners are part of America now. They are not foreigners now. They will be citizens, so they will be having equal rights in our country, the same what American have, not even me or other. American in general, we will be part of America. They will be also. But I invite you to gathering. I will invite you to gathering to see Arab culture on reality maybe you will share. And there is a Refugee Day on June 22nd. This is a new one.
Okay.
Refugee Day, and they will make a good big festival for all refugees from all over, whoever comes. So Opening Doors organization held that event, and they invite me for that. So I'll make a flyer and invite you also.
Oh,
Because
absolutely.
you can see people in reality from different languages, different cultures, but they are all refugees coming from other side of the world. And will be a chance to have some idea. We will not learn that much in one day, but at least you will have the taste of it, and you will follow up with things you would like to know more from here or there. This is the only way to be open to public and call for join.
We have to understand that the American dream includes our neighbors, no matter
Yeah.
who they are.
Yeah, and know your neighbor,
And know
you will
your-
be safe.
That's right.
If you know your neighbor, you will be safe.
Good point.
Suspicious from your neighbor, fear will be always there. The easy way.
That's such an easy thing to say.
The easy way to say. So anyway, I really appreciate your coming to our show and value what you gave us today to think about it and shaking the thoughts about for freedoms, which forgetting the way we live today. And also thank you for talking about Toastmasters, important things to my viewers also, to let them come and welcome them. And if they come to our club, you welcome them.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And on behalf of my viewers, I thank you very much. And for you, my viewers, I thank you for being patient, and hopefully you learn something today and you will think about it. And if you have any question, call for help. And books are available. We'll have the names of the books to share with you. And books always good friends if we look at the right book to give us some information. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.